What subsidy have they removed? To tell you the truth, the only removal of subsidy that has happened lately is the one that came just about 3 months ago. If the president told us on the day of inauguration that he removed subsidy, they were paying subsidy. You called me on this radio station and I proved it to you. How much was the landing? Django has just started selling oil to us. They were importing oil. They are still importing oil to today. So if the landing cost is 1,000, and then you put in all other costs, and they were selling to you at 650. So the difference, who is paying? At first, they will lie and say NNPC is paying. So who owns NNPC account? So they were paying subsidy 3 times more than what Buhari was even paying. Buhari was paying 3 times more than Jonathan was paying. So it is now it is now time for them to now realize that they ought not to have opposed subsidy in 2011, as they simply want to condition us. That whatever they want to tell us now, we should take hook, line, and sinker. I want to ask you a question. And my brothers here. Okay, you have 2 wolves. Wolves. You can call them lions, but 2 wolves. I love the wolves. I don't like wolves, but I want to use wolves. Anyway, it's like one is in the darkness and one is in the light. So which one is going to survive? Which one is going to live? Doctor, which one do you think will live? One wolf is chained but in the darkness. Another wolf is chained but is in the light. Which one do you think will survive? Prof?
I think light should bring success.
That is exactly what I knew he was going to say. Because they have conditioned us to believe that the one that is in the light is the one that will survive. Sorry, sir. The answer is not the one in the light. And not even the one in the dark. It is the one you feed. It is the one you feed that will survive. If you put the one in the light and there's no food, it will die. So they condition us that this is the answer. But the truth of the matter is that the answer lies somewhere else. It lies in the ingenuity of the Nigerian to know exactly what he wants. How did Awolowo manage that economy? Are you saying we can't find people who can do it? If Aluko told us that it is even reasonable for anyone to develop an era, why wouldn't somebody interrogate Aluko's brain? He was a professor of economics. The last thing I'm going to say to you, unless you still want to give me time, because you always say Mother will talk so much. The last thing I will say to you is this. The total debt of portfolio of America is how much? $23 trillion. That's what America is owing. Has America even paid $1 ever on debt? Who knows when America has even paid $1? China is owing $13 trillion. Can America tell China to come and pay? America is busy trying to beg China about trade imbalances, let alone to tell China go and pay. It is us they will tell us to pay, and we'll be using 90% of our revenue to pay debt.
Thank you.
So the truth of the matter is that they will push us until they die to help the economy. They want us to pay, but they will never pay the debt. Themselves, they will never. China will never pay that 13 trillion. In fact, it will increase. America's 23 trillion too will increase.
All right.
So if we know what is good for us, then we will reverse everything, go back to the basics, rebase the economy, change the naira, plot it at maybe 2 to 1. If not, you don't want to do it 1 to 1, and start afresh.
All right, Magaji. That was profound. Let's move over to Professor. I can see you have a lot bottled up inside of you when this gentlemen were speaking. Would you like to react to some of the things Dr. Alaje and Magaji Adejumo have spoken about?
Thank you. Back and forth may not be necessary, but let me just say, because of the histrionics, when it comes to the issue of the value of the Nigerian naira, the devaluation did not begin today.
Okay.
1982, Shagari ensured that a bill was sent to the National Assembly on economic stabilization. He introduced the austerity measure, 1982, just 1 year before it was overthrown, December 31, 1983. And that austerity measure was not a tea party. Nigerians queued for what was called essential commodities, milk, sugar, detergent, toilet soap, toilet, people killed.
So we didn't just start today. It
So we did
happened.
that. So the problems that had been with us actually began in 1982. Now, some pack of military people came and then they overthrew the government in the midnight of December 31, led by one man called General Muhammadu Buhari, Major General. He was in Nigeria in the saddle as head of state of Nigeria for 22 months. During that time, Nigeria never had it. In fact, our creditors refused to offer unto us credit lines. Onolapo Sholeye, his finance minister, had to embark upon a policy of counter trading so that we could at least be able to import the basic necessities all of 1984 up to 1985. This same country. Where was our naira? And when General Barangida came in July or August of 1985, that same year that Buhari was overthrown, just 1 year after, introduced SAP, Structural Adjustment Program. We have never gotten out of that and the implications thereof today. Second tier foreign exchange market started during that time. Nigerian naira devalued. In fact, if we insisted that we were not going to devalue naira, the fact that is the real politic in the market, the real fact in the market, actually devalued the naira. 4 naira to $1. Don't forget we were coming from 60 kobo to the dollar. In 1986, SAP was a woeful failure. By 1989, yes, he called himself president, Babangida declared that all economic policies and all input into governance had failed, and that he wondered why the Nigerian economy had not yet collapsed. The president of the Federal Republic said that. So, in my parlance here in Yoruba land, we said, apology to Chief. Children are not supposed to make allegiance where elders are. But the truth of the matter is that it's been quite a while. And the devaluation continued even under military rule that had the capacity to decree that Nigerian naira be 1 naira to the dollar. Nobody does it anywhere in the world. You won't achieve it. You fail.
Sorry, Prof. What happened under Abacha?
What happened under Abacha? It was 21.
21 to 1.
And we were agreed that 21 was a tough talk compared to 4 naira.
That was when we had the most stable.
But then, yes.
And we had a Sam Aluko who ran it. A man who was against devaluation successfully.
But it did not reduce the exchange rate.
It's not about the exchange rate.
It stabilized.
The period of growth and stability of the economy as at the time he met it.
Yeah.
It never went up. Now we have had a serious devaluation from 460 to the dollar down to 1,760.
760. Calculate.
How do we begin to
calculate the difference in percentage with respect to Obasanjo left off with about 80, and then Jonathan managed us in between 160 and 180 naira to the dollar. Jonathan.
So that between Jonathan, how many
percent
is that?
And now
almost 1,000%.
And now if you compare 1,000%, but of course when you begin to calculate, you take away 80 and then you calculate 160, 180. That will be in the neighborhood of something serious, at least more than double, as at the time that we had Jonathan. And when Nigeria had it, and Buhari came, of course, all of us know, like every Nigerian know, that Buhari was not a person you would choose. It will not be the first choice when it comes to economic skill and capacity to manage anything. He didn't do it well in 1984-85. So, but the Nigerian political economy foisted him upon us, because did not just had to have a president. I think the problem we have in the country is the political economy of the structure of the country. A system that does not compensate hard work but sanctions it. But if we had gone on a political restructuring, and we have taken the advice of the political confab that we had during President Jonathan's era, by chance we could have succeeded. But the way we are constituted now, including the structure of our government, the cost of our governance, which exceeds 70% of our total budget, there is no way we can move ahead.
All right, thank you so much, Doctor. The figures are flying all around, and that's what you get when you have economists, and financial experts sitting with you in the studios. We go for this break. When we come back, we deepen the conversation on this colloquium. We are beaming live on Western Spring Television Channel 190 DTT on Start Times and on Rave 91.7 FM. You can also watch us on YouTube at Western Spring TV. We'll go for this break now. We'll come back soon.
Even 91.7 FM on Western Spring Television in commemoration of the 9 years anniversary of Rave 91.7 FM and the 2 years anniversary of Western Spring Television Channel 190 DTT on Star Times. And we've been speaking with our panelists this afternoon. Just before we went on the break, there was a flashback, from Professor Guyemi to the Shagari period, and it reminded me of a song that partly says austerity, and it brings about reminiscences. Now that we're talking about political economy, I go back to Professor Guyemi, or let me start with Mogaji Adejimo this time around. Mogaji, Professor Guyemi has stated that we also need to look at the political economics of this nation. And we can't just talk about the economy of a nation in isolation. And I recall that recently, former governor of Osun State, Rauf Aregbesola, clamored once again for a change in system of governance, saying we should practice parliamentary system of government. What do you think?
Well, most of my adult life, I belong to an organization that is the second oldest in the whole of Africa, and that's Afenifere. Afenifere this year is 73 years old, and has a whole lot of experience with perhaps the finest men I've ever seen who are true. And when they say to themselves be true, it's one of the hardest things to be. And at every trajectory, Afenifere will always say this is the way. It is only when Nigerians, Yoruba people, deviate from it that trouble begins. Right from the moment that the trajectory of the presidential system started in 1979, and when they called Papa Awolowo, and it was during interrogation, he realized that All they wanted to do was presidential system. He said, count me out. And he made a public statement that it's not going to work. Is it working? We had it for only 4 years before Buhari came. We had the parliamentary system for 6 years. And we know what happened when we failed the parliamentary system. It didn't fail us. We had a parliamentary system that led us to even have local government police in 1963. The 1963 constitution was not even born by any constitutional conference. It was a collegiate of all the federating regions, 4 at that time, who came together and brought out their delegates, and they sat down and they made the necessary adjustment to the 1963 constitution, 1960 independence constitution. And that was novel. Now, people are talking about, well, we need to change the system. Mostly coming from those who have benefited greatly from the system. But let's take it. They may have come to that realization maybe too late, but at least some of them are talking. I also belong to the Patriots Group. I'm the chair of the Patriots Group committee for the for the Southwest to draw up a new constitution. But when we had this Patriots gathering in Lagos, someone who came and said we must change this constitution. He said so as a serving governor, and that is commendable. But if it is all of this that we have to put together, why are some people still opposing it? Mind you, same Afenifere bathed 2014 confab. If anybody is going to oppose that, I will simply tell them, go and meet Jonathan. He will tell them what happened. Besides, who put the groundwork together? Dr. Okromu. Of who? Afenifere. Who was the co-chairman? Professor Bolaji Akemi. Of who? Afenifere. Where was it even put together? Ondo with Mimeku and Afenifere. So we know what we did to be able to convince Jonathan to do it. Meanwhile, what we achieved in that 2014 confab was regionalism. And we know exactly how it will benefit us. But Nigerians, Yoruba people, for being who they are, they opposed us. They brought in Buhari. And what do we have? A single form to aspire to be president is being sold for 100 million. To be a governor, is it 50 million or 25 million? Tell me, who is that president or who is that governor that will willingly bring out 100 million? From where? Even if he's the richest man, he will not want his 100 million back. Or perhaps every member of his family will not look up to him and say, we need this, we need that. So what you are breeding with this system in itself is corruption. If we don't know, fine. But we have always advocated that the parliamentary system is the very best for us. And it's very simple. Members of the parliament that are elected do not have to go beyond their constituency. Awolowo didn't have to go beyond the Kene. Being the party leader will make him to be prime minister. If the Labour Party should fail in the UK, it will be Kemi. It will be Kemi that will be prime minister. Why? Because he's the leader of the party. That is the Conservative Party. All she has to do is just make sure that in her constituency, she wins her own election. End of story. So how does that not help the situation in which we are so impoverished, in which we have become the poverty capital of the world, or the chairman of a local government will have to spend maybe 50 million or 100 million to become chair. So when he gets there, who is that person who is going to tell him not to steal? All that we need to do is think. I once said, and I compare the politician to the horse. You can take a horse to the river, they say, but you can't force the horse to what? To drink. Same with the politician. You can take a politician to the river, but you can't force him to think. The difference is between drinking the water and thinking at the base of the water.
Magaji, do you think this is a system problem or a people problem?
Both. Both. I'll tell you something.
Okay.
If you look at the American Constitution, I don't know whether you've seen it. It's a 4-page document. And they will always say, oh, our founding fathers did a fantastic job. And some of us will read it and read it. And the only thing that is fantastic there is that they declare that all men are what? Equal. They declared equal opportunity, and they declared all of that, even though most of them, they had slaves. But they were true to self to say, we are all equal. They put that there in that standardized form. But they are going to be 245 years old now. Ask me, how many times have they been able to change that constitution? How many times have they been able to even effect amendments? How many amendments do they have? They will tell you about the second amendment, the fifth amendment. They will even plead the fifth.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to bring out is that the task of even changing any constitution, even a constitution as good as the American Constitution, is a very difficult one. In 245 years, they only tried 18 times to change their constitution, and they were only able to succeed 8 times. Now look at Nigeria. We've been trying to reform. We've been trying to change, not change, patch the constitution. We want to patch a tire that has suffered 200 punctures. Why don't you just go and buy a new one? What is there to reform?
So you think we should do away with this constitution?
We just have to, because if we want to bring in the parliamentary system, we have to do away with the presidential system. And that is a complete change of the constitution. And then that is the systemic aspect. And then the people aspect. The people must stop being these slaves. They must stop this servitude attitude to what is happening around them. They must stop this Stockholm syndrome of being slaves of a few naira notes. The election that happened, even on TVC, you saw a woman, Ati Dibo, Ati Gbowo, Agbowo, Agbowo, Ati Dibo, I want them for lowo. And if that is what is going to continue, then let us stress it as well. Let us stress it. I want to digress a little. A few Nigerians were making money in the UK from like 89 to 91. And that was because I wasn't living there, I was visiting, and I saw a few of them, and it was like, how are you people making Omo? They were all walking this circle, all walking around car parks. As at that time, the British, they were still cutting tickets. You want to park your car, you pay for the ticket, is a piece of paper. These Nigerians will come to Nigeria, print exactly the same tickets that will look exactly the same with the one that the British have. So as they are selling a little of the British, they are selling more of their own, and they were making money. When the British found out, they didn't arrest a single one of them initially. You know what they did? They used technology to block it. That was when they started the e-gate thing. And then technology brought this idea of having coins, the special coins that will trigger the e-gate to open. And later, even you can use your credit card when transaction became that safely through the credit card. And they started to improve on it. So they eliminated the human aspect of it. They eliminated completely the corruption around it. Here in Nigeria, what do? Oh, we'll make so much noise about arresting 1 or 2 people. At the end of the day, you take them to court. They will faint. 200 billion. They will faint. Then they will adjourn the case. And then on technicality, maybe somebody serves 3 months. And then he will be freed. That is if ever it gets there. Another one will have 48 houses. But since all you have to do is just join the APC and all your sins are forgiven, the 48 houses are returned to him, the case of 200 billion is quashed. And nobody is talking. Nigerians are not incrementally interrogating this like every day. Somebody is being brought up, his name throw up, minister. Somebody is not asking questions. Tell us, what has he done to deserve this position? Somebody is being brought up to be president. Tell us, what has he done to deserve this? Ordinary interview, nothing. Having to even tell us what you want to do. You want to say, how can you, in the year of the Lord 2024, say you want to do reforms, and you want to give us a policy statement, and all you have to do to tell yourself, to satisfy yourself, is to make a statement without a cost to the people, to explain to the people that you are holding this sovereignty on their behalf, that this is what I want to do, this will take so, I will need your cooperation, and if we do it well, we'll be out of this rot in 10 years. Not one single statement to back up anything. We are just left out there in the cold. And then they will now ram it down. Oh yeah, let's do prayer session. That is the part that is the most criminal. Now they give you money to vote for them. You vote for them, and then you go home. And then somehow you have this feeling that you've done the right thing. That's the reason why you voted. Or you probably would even want to say it is because of religion. You do all of that. And then you go there, and then remorse comes in. And buyer's remorse is one of the most devastating things to happen to the human brain and mind. It destabilizes you. And when you now realize that you made a mistake, and you want to come out and shout, of course they won't want to make you shout. Because if you do, they take you, just like they did with those small children, and slam you with treason. The next day, they come out and tell you, let's have a prayer session. Even the names they will brandish that will lead the prayer session, you already know that. Who is that person? Let's go pray. Oh, the person is already in government. The person just donated 1 billion. And that's the person to pray for economic recovery. Now, my brother was talking about the non-availability of money, well, let's say foreign currency, because that's what we spend really. And I will ask you, if they said you should do elections today, you'll be shocked at the amount of dollars that will come out from the pockets of these people. But there's no dollar now to help with Nigeria. Our letters of credit are being rejected. Airlines are being owed money in the backlog of 3 to 4 months, so they now pass it on to us. Normally, the ticket that should cost maybe 700,000 naira is now going for 2 million. You know why? Because the airline is not sure of when it will be able to change its money at the official rate with the CBN to be able to remit. So that is what is going on. So they will tell you there's no money. But let there be an election today. The money will come out. And the question is, they've enjoyed Nigeria. It is not God. If anybody says God has made them rich, no. It is a skill. They perfected it. So why can't they just look back and say, let us help Nigeria? Just like it happened in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia had this kind of problems. The Crown Prince locked all of them up and said, until we do something for Saudi Arabia, we are not leaving this place. They were able to generate 100 billion. Mr. President, please do same for Nigeria. Lock yourselves. Everybody that has stolen, or don't let me even say stolen alone, money found its way into your pocket one way or the other.
All right, Magaji.
So why don't you just do like that and even tell Saudi Arabia, shame on you. We're better than you. If we can't even do more than 100 billion, we'll do that 100 billion. And put the money in the central bank and let Nigeria live. And let all we need is to have that money there for the country to go, for commerce to go, to grow, for transactions to happen, for confidence to be that watchword that will drive our economy.
Okay.
Will that ever happen?
That's the question on the lips of many. But then let me move over to Professor Ogunyemi. Let's talk about some of the policies embarked upon by this particular administration. We talk about the student loan scheme. That's your constituency, if I can put it that way. For the first time in this country, we are having the student loan scheme where students can get loan from the government, then pay later when they start working, when they start earning. Now, there are people that have criticized this particular scheme by the government, and I should say the Academic Staff Union of University, ASU, was a major critic of the student loan scheme. Do you think this policy is really an antidote against illiteracy or the rate of dropouts that we have in this country?
Thank you. First, let's clarify two things. The student loan scheme or the student loans fund is not for all education. It's not for all levels. It's not for primary school. It is not for secondary school. It is for tertiary education. And tertiary education, as at the last time I checked in our constitution, is not for everybody. First, it is for those who have qualified by the reason of examination and for the reason of placement. You must have been a student in the university. And it is for the indigent. If your parents, the combination of the income of your parents exceeds 400,000 naira in a year, you are not qualified. Oh yes, that's the condition. And then the student's loan, you apply for it and you bring guarantors. Guarantor must be a person whose level in the civil service, for example, not less than level 10. So it is not a dash. That's the second level of clarification. It's not a dash. It is money to be paid back. It's a loan. It's not a bursary. So if a person, for example, is not qualified for it, let him not go close to it. And if a person is qualified for it, let him think of how to repay 2, 3, 4 years after his graduation, and not collapses as they collapsed in the 70s and 80s, the Nigerian student level. This national board is it's not reinventing the wheel. It's been there. It was there before. In fact, there was one Nigeria who decided, the only recently this year, to pay back a loan that he took when he was at the University of Ife, then University of Ife. He paid back when he realized that the possibility of a backlash may begin to roll. See, one should not constitute himself into a professional antagonist of government, such that everything government does, you want to do it because you didn't like the person, the face of the person in government. It doesn't work that way. No country grows that way. The truth of the matter is that the students' loan scheme is good, very good, and very good for the indigent only. So it is not for he whose income, even personal income as a student, exceeds 500,000 in a year, 1 million naira in a year, and is the one that is criticizing it. By what authority? What's the justification? It is only for the poorest of the poor, who, 1, has the talent, 2, has the qualification, 3, has qualified in terms of admission to the university, that is deserving of that loan. It is not it was this, was that, such that we call them free riders. Free riders are not supposed to come into the scheme to come spoil it. You must really have the qualification. Now, what has happened since the implementation? All manners of free riders, particularly from the northern part of Nigeria, have bedeviled the scheme, such that I tell you by the authority of my honor that the possibility of repaying back after their study is almost nil.
Why do you
and
say so?
would likely be written off by the government.
Why?
I mean, government often writes off such loans as a way, as a political settlement, to be able to throw water in the front so that you can walk upon the wet ground.
Why do you
Even
say
the
you
US,
pay back?
even the US. So people will pay this time around differently, depending on certain conditions, than they did in the 1970s, where they could not be apprehended. Why? They gave wrong addresses. 2, they supply fictitious guarantors. 3, they decidedly, those who got it, and I didn't want to say any part of Nigeria that frustrated it, will take the loan and go into trading. 75% of those who took those loans in the 70s, 80s went into trading. They did not use it for education. At any rate, the Nigerian government has always subsidized education, to the extent that here in my university, Obafemi University, to do medicine, less than 80,000 naira is your school fee. And it just happened just in the last session. Who does that? Where in the world do you do medicine for less than 80,000? That's huge subsidy. Law, 19,500 naira to do law for 1 year. Obafemi University, until it was reviewed to 76,000. Only last session. So, let's see, government has always done a lot with respect to education in this country. And now that it has another scheme for the most indigent of our students, by all means, let patriots support it and not bring in Medusa interlopers rubbish the system.
Let's talk about the sustainability and the expansion of this scheme in the coming years.
Oh, it is absolutely sustainable because it is dependent upon the Petroleum Trust Fund. The Petroleum Trust Fund takes 1% post-tax as deduction of all companies registered in Nigeria. So if it takes 1% of their profit after tax, what's wrong in that? And that is a dedicated account. They don't need to go into the treasury, into the Nigerian General Treasury to take the fund. No, because there's funds always going, and there are others that are contributing to Nigerian development, so that the Carnegie, the MacArthur, and so many. It goes into this fund, and there are donors too. For example, Dangote donated 20 billion into that fund. Just to because Dangote is one of those people that's benefiting from Nigeria's high net worth individuals, without supporting anywhere. But at least it is contributing now, and it should be saluted. Now that my union is against it, is I cannot understand why. Their argument is that instead of the loan fund, why not liberalize it and just say university education, tertiary education free, don't pay anything.
And you don't think that's possible or viable?
Absolutely, I think it is. I think it's unbecoming to be saying take a thing of value, don't pay. Where in the world will you enjoy value and you are not giving anything? Where is it in England? Where in all the socialist countries that collapsed? Were they practicing that? Maybe Cuba. Okay, well, maybe Cuba. But they collapsed. Their economy collapsed. There must be a correlation between getting value and getting some contribution from those who get that value to contribute to the system, so that it will first be sustainable and others can benefit from it. I think ASU is mistaken on this ground.
Okay, Dr. Olaje, while we'll look at we've spoken to the student loan scheme. Let's talk about the conditional cash transfer done by the federal government. At first, when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came on board, and he made mention of the 8,000 naira palliative for transfer to the poorest of the poor, people criticized it. He withdrew it, worked on it, and later we saw some other scheme come up. But there are people who believe that this has helped or aided corruption, especially in that particular ministry that is saddled with this responsibility, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, and of course we saw that play up in the suspension of the minister, Dr. Betta Edu, and also the former minister. But then the question is, conditional cash transfer, do you think in any way it helps us as a country? Magaji made mention of the fact that it's not new in the world. They do it in other parts of the world just to help alleviate the pain a bit. But do you think this can work in our countries? Because I have asked questions when they say it's meant for the poorest of the poor. I've asked people who know people that probably have benefited from this transfer, but I am yet to see one person who got this.
Well, thank you so very much. I should have said congratulations to Rave FM.
Okay.
And your sister
station, Western Spring Television.
It's easy to talk, but not easy to do. To have done 9 years, and I know that you have been award winner back to back, especially your radio station.
Sure.
So it's not a small feat at all. In Nigeria, after 5 years, if the organization still exists, then we need to compliment you because of the business environment.
Exactly.
Even though ease of doing business showed positive signs, after a while, from 176 to 151, but the truth is, it grew even to 136. But the truth is, on ground, when it comes to businesses that are moving from micro to small, small to medium, it's a peculiar task. And it's a hill to climb.
Sure.
For me, I doff my cap for you.
Thank you.
The organization, your overall body, you've done really well for yourself.
You.
And I know that you are a pride, not just to this state, to our nation, Nigeria.
Thank you.
Answering your question directly regarding conditional cash transfer, I agree. Nigeria is not the only country that has done this. But I tell you, China was once the largest population in the world up until 2022, 2023, when India decided to become the largest population in the world. At that time, China thought the way of moving our people out of poverty and deprivation, and I'm referring to 60s and 70s, was via conditional cash transfer. The truth is that the people remain in poverty, hunger, and deprivation until China knew that that is not what brought Europe out of the same economic crisis. Nigeria is repeating a method that we have known in the world that has failed. I am not saying giving it to people is not good or bad. I'm saying that what is the impact? So people became poor because one sense of dependency increases. People are not able to work because they believe that something will get to them. In any case, what happened to China? China then changed strategy because at the time it was an economy that was practicing autarky, was not really trading with the rest of the world, maybe few in terms of exchange. So it was autarky. No, but here is it. What did China do? They started building factories and saying that production is the way to go. Wait a minute. President Buhari was fond of spending 500 billion when exchange rate was less than 500 naira on the same program for 8 years. How much was that? Leave President Buhari alone. President Tinubu have started the same thing. And not just the president. Governors are doing the same thing. Pull all of these non-productive monies together. It's like you have a large farm. You now have a bottled water or sachet water. You are now sprinkling it in different corners of your farm, hoping that you are doing irrigation. You have wasted the water that is insufficient. Your crops will not grow, they will all die. Poverty will be strong, will be entrenched in the system.
So you're calling this conditional transfers wastes?
It's a waste, clearly. Because let me ask you, the way you have been looking for people that is has impacted, I know a few persons, or they have to be political cronies, they have to be people who have registered under political structure, political register. And this is not to attack a political party, across all political parties, even in states. That is what President Tinubu, you know, when he said he was going to give 80,000, as soon as he finished that broadcast, I was in a television station and asked me, I said it was a big mistake. And I spoke in about 5 other TV stations and several radio stations. I put it in the print media. I was shocked that a week after, the president reversed himself. And I was asked by a TVC, have you noticed the president reversed himself regarding what you said last week? I said it's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. When you hear that your citizens are complaining that wanting to give 8,000 is not the way to go, that he reversed, I was happy. But what I met my biggest shock when I realized the president now replaced that with sharing of rice.
Exactly.
What happens to the price of rice? Surge. Why? Because an artificial demand came. You understand? Everybody now wants to buy rice. Unemployment, rice. Inflation, rice. So it cannot solve the problem. So the strategy that was used was to now say, let's share rice. Please, where is the rice? In fact, some senators and honorables will tell their people that it's their own contribution to them. So the culture of wanting to share, it is momentary. It is temporal. It cannot lift our people out of poverty and deprivation. Let's do this math. Let's assume it's 10,000. What is exchange rate today? Let's be charitable. 1,650. Let's be charitable. 1,650 divided by 10,000. What figure will it give us? I don't know if it can help us. How much will that be? 10,000 naira divided by 1,650. How much will that give us? But you see, for you to come above poverty line, not my figures, according to the UNDP, you need to earn $1.95. Somebody did $2. That's about $60. So if you are giving people 10,000 naira, is it to sustain them in poverty? In the environment where they did this, it's not the same amount they were collecting. It's not 10,000. That is why I say convert your 10,000, which is less than $10, which is less than, if you like, $7 or $8 for a whole month. How much is the price of bread today? So how do we impact our people? So as a government that wants to help people, because in Germany, even if you go on social support, government will keep you there, give you some basics. However, there are opportunities that they will even inform you that there are openings
in Germany. They will even teach you skills.
They will teach you skills. But we
Even
have,
if you're in jail, they will make sure that you go through a productive system in jail that will teach you about certain things that when you come out of jail, you'll become productive.
we have technical here. How popular is it? It's now a bus stop. We have technical in Osogbo.
Technical school.
How many? How popular is it? Everybody wants to go to Ife. Yeah, I finished from Ife, but everybody wants to go to AU. Want to go to UI of this world. We don't all have business in the university. Is that how popular universities are known in China?
No.
Is that how they got there?
No.
Is that how popular they are in areas where industry was promoted? And he said, I made an example the last time. I said, check, countries are not the same. China has the largest population up until 2 years ago. China understood that we cannot use service-driven GDP. It has to be production-driven GDP.
Absolutely.
So what was their target? Factories, because they were sharing money the way we were. Factories were built. They ensured they wrap up with their energy system, electricity. They also wrapped up in infrastructure, road. And they provided skill, not degree to their people. Look at where Germany is, China is today. Leave China, go to the Southern America. Brazil did the same thing. They now produce stronger rice equipment than their counterparts in India. Because they understood that the miracle, economic miracle we are looking for is in production. That's the economic miracle. Go to America. With all the technology America is still producing. But come to my beloved country, Nigeria. 20 to 60%, gross about 80% is in non-manufacturing, non-industrial sector. You know what we have done? We have sandwiched our economic miracle. We have sandwiched it. And we are hoping that when we eat it, we will eat nothing. We'll be hitting, even in agriculture. Production is not agro processing that is taking the lead. It's crop production. Took largest proportion of growth in it. So you cannot be giving people 5,000, 10,000 and call it all manner of name and expect that the program will have impact. No. If we are trying to sustain people to vote for us in the next election, which that's the way it appears to me, so that we can have register of those that will vote for us again and collect data, yes, that may be a political strategy. But when you think that is an economic strategy, it will fail. Now the money we are giving them has even lost value.
Completely. What's the buying power of the naira?
So you might need to now increase the money. But what? But you know what? The truth is that there is another method of building a robust economy, a sustainable economy, energy-driven economy. Let me give you an instance, because I know people are watching us. Imagine that we say we want to solve the problem of school uniform. 40 million pupils, primary, secondary. If the only thing we can produce in Nigeria is adire from Abeokuta, if that's the only thing we can produce, let's produce it. Because when I was in secondary school, for instance, Loyola College, it is not the checkers that helped me to study. It's not the checkers. It is the content of what my teacher taught me. So why will I go to school and spend so much money from India and China and East London and expect that those things will impact my life? Will London allow that you're importing school uniform into their country? And guess what? As we're having this program, a boy and a girl are somewhere now talking to themselves inside one dark room. After 9 months, somebody will come out. They will put pressure on your exchange rate because they don't care. They don't know that the school uniform for that boy or girl or those twins to come to life will be imported. And look at all of us in this studio. My brother and I, if I was saying we are westernized and our clothes are imported. But even Magaji himself, His Highness, and my prof, they are all clothes too. They are not made in Nigeria. Why? Go to Kaduna. It's moribund. It's a shadow of itself. It used to be the pride of West Africa, not just Nigeria.
Yes.
But where is it today? Even this Adira I'm talking about, they started importing it from China.
Oh, yes.
They will now tell you that do you want Nigeria owned or you want the one from China? Meanwhile, our government is looking. My governor, what's it called? My governor in what's it called now? Ogun is looking. till that market is gone. Meanwhile, my governor in Osun, what can he do? If this is what our people can do in Osun State, can we make laws to say that in the next 5 years, or in the next 2 years, in the next 1 year, this is what Osun students will use? Laugh at us, but you see the growth in our life. You see the productivity. You see employment.
Made by Osun people.
Made by
Osun people.
In fact, at the end, you can write names of different schools, and they can use different colors, different patterns. This is how growth will come. China has once made the worst car in the world. Not the kind of cars they do today. They are not the worst cars anymore. Because when you produce over and over and over, you see errors and you correct. And you beef up. And there's improvement. It is not when you give people for 5,000. It is common knowledge that when you give a man a fish, you make him dependent. If you want him to be independent, you throw him out to fish. So that's where our economic miracle lies. It's not 5,000.
Thank you, Dr. Alaji. Mogaji Adejumo. Dr. Alaji just hinted, some of the set of reforms that we can work on. However, I want to say that Tinubu's economic reforms can be oblique, Mogaji Adejumo. But then let's look at the person who is pushing, the personality of the person pushing these reforms. As an Afenifere chieftain, Mogaji, your group pitched your tent with Peter Obi and not with President Bola Tinubu. And even though some people still question how influential the Afenifere is when it comes to the social politics of this nation, Bola Tinubu still won the 2023 election.
Oh, yeah, because he has the money.
Okay.
End of story.
So
now,
then,
yes.
Mogaji, my question to you is that, is it that you do not believe in the leadership of Bola Tinubu to successfully lead this nation out of the quagmire we are in? Or you think he's not the kind of leader that some have called a reformer?
The answer to that, we'll have to go back to year 2000. And I'll tell you why. When Obasanjo came in, he set out to do two things. First, education. The very first bill, the very first thing they did was the UBE. He launched it in Sokoto, brought Professor Obayar from UNESCO and set up the UBE thing and started this idea of having to build schools because we had moribund education and recruitment of teachers. That's the first thing he did. And he was right. The second thing he did, to which I was directly involved, was he had another moribund exercise called Cassava Multiplication Project, CMP, which was only in 3 states, and it was only $3 million. So he went himself, first to Brazil, IFAD, then crossed over to Milan, Rome, and it was a one-on-one with most of these people. I said, no, I want this increased and in 26 states from Abuja, and they changed it to root and tuber expansion program. And that was when we had the cassava revolution. I wrote the project implementation manual for that project. And the very first in the whole of Africa, a consultant from Africa, the very first time that wrote a project implementation manual for the World Bank. That was year 2000. And that was when we started going around. I toured everywhere, wrote the procurement as well as financial implications of all of this. And that was the boom. As at that time, other West African countries were doing better than us in cassava. But in 2 years, we were #1 in Africa. That was Obasanjo. He picked certain areas and faced them. He had people like Okonjo-Iweala. What did Jonathan do? He had other people too with Okonjo-Iweala, but he had a certain Akinwumi Adesina. You know what he did? Exactly what he's trying to say. It wasn't like meeting the cooperatives and all of that and say this is how we are going to distribute fertilizer, and it was going to be a constituency thing and a minister and a governor and then a senator. No, he was doing directly with the farmers. He had a simple tool installed in their phones. If a farmer needs a fertilizer, all he has to do is just send a message. Prof is agreeing with me, and it will be delivered to him like it was Jumia. And we had all of that for security. How did Akinwumi Adesina, how did he become the president of the ADB? Because all of these are written in his CV.
Yeah.
Everything that Okonjo-Iweala presented to be the president of the World Trade Organization were all the things she achieved from Nigeria, particularly in a ministry where she realized that about 4 to 5 billion was being paid to ghost workers, and she embarked upon electronic census of everyone. They resisted it. She fought it. She actually succeeded. It's in her CV. Nobody will see that all over the world and say she's not
Competent.
the kind of person competent with the right kind of capacity to run the WTO. So when we, in Afenifere or anywhere else, when we are talking based on the fact that you need to identify meritocracy. You need to put the right people in the right places. You need to do extraordinary things. Afenifere is used to doing things that people would think are impossible. Starting from Awolowo, whoever believed Awolowo was going to be able to do free education? About 6 of us went to, including
Nobody believed.
Sorry?
Nobody
believed.
To do it.
In fact, Awolowo had to go to the most influential man in Ondo area there. That was the Deji of Akure, to convince him. Then he said, Baba, I know you have many children. All of these children are going to go to school. Please, you won't even buy anything. I'm going to make sure that every school is situated within 1 mile and the rest of it. So Baba looked and said, Omomako, Awolowo said, I give you this word. All your children will go to school. It was then. He had to do that. But nobody believed he could do it. Free health, nobody believed he could do it. In 1979, Shagari and Akejide and the rest said free education is not possible. In fact, there was a particular debate between Shagari and Awolowo. Awolowo said, you can do free education. Shagari said no. So Shagari, the question was, where will you get the money? Awolowo said, look, all the tea and coffee and all that they drink in government offices, have you found out how much it is? He said, well, he said, the statistics are here. You can go and check it. I'll give you a free copy. 3 million. Newspapers and the rest of them. How much? Another 3 million. So Shagari said, it still will not be enough. I said, yes, it won't be enough because I have costed it. Education is going to cost 9 million. Shagari said, where are you going to get 3 million? Oh, maybe you want to be president. I've given you where you get 6. You can use your head to find out where you can get another 3. That was the end of that interview. So the idea is, why are we like this? Why can't we think? Why don't you put the right kind of people in the right places? It's about conviction and the will. In fact, what you sent to us as that, the political will to do stuff. Now I will let the cat out of the bag today. We didn't just back Obi. If truth must be said, we did not just back Obi. We interrogated him in every way. We made him to sign a document. Mogaji Adejuma is revealing all of this to you today.
What's in that document?
Sorry?
What's in the document?
Oh, everything we want him to do for Nigeria. Everything we believe must be done, and he must implement. And if he doesn't do it, we'll blackmail. In fact, we'll be the first to shout.
And he signed that document.
He signed it. So we just didn't say we were picking someone.
Why didn't you
Even at the SMBLF meeting, I was part of the highest committee of the SMBLF was selection of presidential candidates. We sent them, all of them. We sent them certain things for them to fill and return to us. It was meant to be between them and us, so that we can begin to interrogate. It wasn't just going to be gratis.
Mogaji, why not a Bola Tinubu? Why Peter Obi?
Let me tell you the truth. Many overtures were made. Well, if you want me to talk, I will tell you something.
Please do.
There was a time that was supposed to be a Mulika Akande that was meant to be the Speaker of the House. Who truncated it? Who brought in Tambua? One. Another time, I was part of the process of putting Amotekun on the ground. And when the bill was to be put together, it was still going to be a process to harmonize all the bills in all the states. It was what I wrote that Are Gani Adams presented at the floor of the House in Lagos State. I was the one who presented the same thing, which emanated from me, on the floor of the House of Chiefs in Oyo State. We sent representatives in all the states. And our recommendation, in fact, we said don't put police at the end, put retired army officers. Everything we put there, they adopted. And then every other state went to work and came out with Amotekun. Did Lagos? There was even, you can go and find out from Baba Balola. We wanted to do a pan-Yoruba conference and it was like, oh, yes, call everybody. I said, well, call Tinubu too. So my brother Akin Oshotokun was sent to him. And he wasn't interested. And then there was, go and ask Dr. Akingba. So it is not as if we didn't make enough overtures. It's not as if we didn't want to have him to come to us.
But Magaji, on the Amotekun issue, Lagos said they had a neighborhood watch. That was the reason they did not have.
They all went to meet the people in Abuja. You are okay, where is the neighborhood watch? Let's face it. Out of 36 markets, and here is now 42, but we keep our records. One thing we do is we keep, out of 36 markets as at that time, 32 are being headed by northerners in Lagos. So there was a time we were having problems at Alabarago. So they gave them an ultimatum. They are still there. But they can go to Owode and flush out people. They can go to, where do they sell motor spare parts?
Alapa.
Ladipo. And flush out. But they dare not go to Alabarago. And you are talking about neighborhood. Which neighborhood? In my own neighborhood, there's nobody there. Our security is our security. So how can anyone begin to look at neighborhood watch? Between Lagos and Ibadan, we all know what used to happen with kidnappings and the rest of them. Between Lagos and Ogere, between Ogere and Ibadan, you will say, okay, it's only Lagos State. Sorry, only Ogun State and Oyo State. Of course, there's collaboration. But what about in other places from Ekpe? Ekpe to Ijebu-Ode. Who runs into Ekpe? What about in Ikorodu? What about cultism in Ikorodu? Or is it only about kidnappers that Amotekun was settled? So how far has neighborhood was dealt with cultism in Ikorodu? So please, we have to face the fact that there is a trajectory upon which we will look at the Yoruba adage that says, Ojú tó máa máa bá wa dalẹ̀, onífàárọ̀ ṣepin. You know the strength of your horse over a long distance. You can't look at how beautiful your horse is looking and say, ẹṣin yìí á gbé mi délé. It's only when you are on it. And there's something we call equity, which is like an unruly horse. If you ever climb equity, which is an unruly horse, you don't disembark until you get to that your destination, which is called justice. And based on justice, on equity, we looked at the whole scenario. And then we looked at the problems with Nigeria. And we looked at who can have that political will. Because many times they came to Obasanjo then and said, oh, Obasanjo, they will come and kill you. He said, I'm old enough, if they want to come and kill me, let them come. But he forced his way through. We needed a leader like that, not a leader that they will pad the budget.
And Peter Obi was that leader for you?
Sorry?
Peter Obi was that leader for you and the
He was, because we did our interrogation, we checked him out every step of the way. This is a man that was impeached how many times? Who knows? He was impeached twice. And he came back how many times? Twice.
Okay.
So if he was, very, very, how will I put it, condescending, and he was ready to do everything the House wanted, they would not have impeached him. In fact, in one of the meetings they had, they told him how much to bring. He told them, I won't give you one dime. Go ahead and impeach me. It's like Papa who looked Abacha in the face. When they arrested him and said he was the one who sent people to kill. Hold on, please. I said, you are the mastermind behind the killing of Kudirat. Papa looked Abacha in the face and said, you know what? Forget all the lie. You are a coward. I owe you only one bullet. Don't give it to Al Mustafa because that will still mean you are a coward. Pick up your gun yourself and shoot. Abacha said, this man has just taken him away. This is a man that they said, okay, give us this, so we won't impeach you. Say, I won't give you a dime. Go ahead and impeach me. That's the kind of person we need.
All right. Thank you so much, Bogaja.
Hold on. Not the kind of person that will say, but the budget was padded by the National Assembly. And he said, well, it's a case of you rub my back, I rub your back.
All right, Magaji, we are due for a break now. The conversation is getting interesting, I should say, but we have to go for this break. When we come back, more conversations, more talks, and of course, we'll look at more reforms and policies by this administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Do not go anywhere.
On the 12th of June 1993, Nigerians trooped out in their numbers, irrespective of religious, ethnic, and regional affiliations, to vote for a civilian candidate.
Fellow Nigerians, it is exactly 3 decades today that Nigerians went to the polls to exercise their inalienable right to elect a president of their choice to lead the transition from military dictatorship to a representative government of the people. I pledge anew our commitment to diligently fulfilling every component of our electoral pact with the people, the renewable agenda.
I, Senator George Ahmed, do solemnly swear that I will be faithful.
We shall be faithful to truth, faithful to equity, and faithful to justice. We shall exercise our authority and mandate to govern with fairness, respect for the rule of law, and commitment to always upholding the dignity of all our people. On this note, I wish us a happy Democracy Day celebration and pray that the light of liberty shall never be extinguished in our life. Thank you all, and may God continue to bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
You see, it's a matter of presentation, and as far as I'm concerned, this is a military government is not an ideal government to have. That's why we are all praying for democracy. The people of this country went to polls on Saturday, June 12, 1993, and without let or hindrance chose me as their president. Didn't they? They did.
It's historic inauguration day, 29th of May.
But you can't live without hope. You need hope to cope.
You understand the role Nigeria plays, not just in Africa, but in the world.
Right behind them, up to 2 battalions, there you see the Nigerian Navy, all decked up in their cream and navy blue. You can see that. And then right behind them is the Air Force and the Nigerian police. A very beautiful, beautiful sight to behold.
I stand before you, honored to assume the sacred mandate you have given me. My love for this nation is like lightning, like confidence in a spirit of wavering, and my faith in God Almighty is absolute. We have conquered Sunday to march beyond dimness of night in the open way of the new national home. Bola Ahmed Tinubu do solemnly swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So help me God.
Welcome back. It's still the conversation, and this is the on-air colloquium right here on Western Spring Television and Rave 91.7 FM in commemoration of Rave FM's 9 years of excellent broadcasting and Western Spring Television's 2 years of redefining television experience in the Southwest and in Nigeria. And we have amazing personalities with us in the studio. Mogaji Boyega Dejumo is right here with us in the studio. Dr. Paul Alaje is here, and of course, Professor Tunji Ogunyemi is also seated with us in the studios. And I'm definitely going to be directing my my next question to him. Now, former President Olusegun Obasanjo recently in faraway United States took a swipe of President Tinubu's reforms. It suggested that Nigeria should scrutinize who will be the next INEC chair. In a swift reaction, the presidency described as a bad poster boy for democracy, described former President Obasanjo as a bad poster boy for democracy. Do you think INEC is the problem of the political class?
With due respect, I will not query the foundation as well as the temerity of former President Obasanjo to call attention to what he considers infraction in Nigeria's political system. First of all, he has the age. Second, he has the experience. And third, he has what one can call the international visibility to be able to make comments. So I will not look at the merits of what he has said. But I can look at what did he do during his own time. I can look at the history. President Tinubu is using exactly, or if you like, about the same law as President Obasanjo used.
You think so?
Oh yes, the Electoral Act 2010 has just been amended only recently. Electoral Act 2022. How about that? With most of the amendments in pari materia with what existed in 2010. I don't think President Obasanjo did any better. In fact, he conducted one of the worst elections in Nigeria's history in the year 2007, when he was to hand over to President Umaru Yar'Adua of blessed memory. To the extent that President Yar'Adua himself accepted in a widely televised interview that the election that brought him to power was flawed. So terribly flawed that he immediately constituted the Waste Committee to look at it. Is it a waste? Whatever. Former CGN of Nigeria to look at it. That tells you something. And when on Hard Talk, President Obasanjo was put to task on BBC News, he only defended the illegality and the shoddiness. So he has no moral authority to begin to query anybody. Now,
what I just find in it is that it appears as if President Obasanjo seemed to be much wiser outside of power to know what was right for Nigeria than when he was in power.
Some would say that's the same for most politicians. When they are out of power, they seem to be much
President
wiser.
Obasanjo ought to have left the level of politician and politicking to the level of statesmanship.
Professor, let's leave the messenger and focus on the message.
That's important because the medium is the message. You say that in journalism. See, if a person vociferously puts to the public a particular position which he himself was against while he was in power or did not actually do, we need to query his moral foundations. However, is there any merit in what he said with respect to appointing, how to appoint the INEC chairman and to rejig our system? I think, yes, this is some merit, but you cannot tamper with the appointive power of the President of the Federal Republic. He has authority to appoint 2,617 persons without going to the National Assembly for approval. 2,617. And it's in our laws. Let's just check from Section 153 of the Constitution to Section 157. Federal officers and federal offices institutions, including members of the Code of Conduct Bureau, who should oversee him, he also has appointing power over them. Code of Conduct Bureau, who should actually be those to check him, is the one to appoint them. And there has never been any president in Nigeria in this current or contemporary history that has ever appointed someone who has an antipathetic feeling or opposing feeling to him as the chairman of the Code of Conduct Bureau. See, politics is about self-preservation. Nobody does politics only for the purposes of good governance. It is first of all power, the use of power, authoritative allocation of values. That's politics. That's why you see people go give palliatives in a state that is bedeviled by poverty. Poverty rate in Osun State, for example, is only 20%. And that's the data. But if you go to Katsina State, it is 80%. The home of the president, the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You think 5,000 will not mobilize them? Of course. Real politics says they will take the money. That's it. That's the reality. They will take the money. And politicians are wont to award such palliatives very close to elections. That's how politicians behave. That's how they do. Including appointing people they know will never be able to conflict with them when they are in power. Trump is demonstrating that. So there is no way politicians will not behave in a political way, which is to seek to gain power and gain it for themselves. But with respect to INEC, I think the power does not lie in the hands of the President of the Federal Republic. It is in the National Assembly that makes the law. If the law is made in the National Assembly to the effect that anyone who will be chairman of INEC, resident electoral commissioner in the state, shall be a retired justices of the Federation, or retired chief judge, or any judge of the High Court of a state, or of the federal High Court, or a former Grand Kadi who was, when he was in power or when he was sitting on the bench, was not dismissed or found guilty of an offense close to dishonesty. That can be good. That can be good. I think that should be the suggestion of anyone who has no ulterior motive to call a dog a bad name with a view to hanging it.
Prof, some people have brought out some, solutions or recommendations, I should call it,
yes,
to the appointment of the INEC chair. They say it should be like a job. You submitting your resume, applying for the position. The National Assembly looks at your resume and says whether you are qualified for the job, and you get the job.
Well,
instead of the appointment.
Oh, good. Then such persons may have to go and tinker with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria with respect to federal agencies. The same argument can not be advanced for the chairman of the Population Commission. And the same thing will appear to the Federal Civil Service Commission. The same will apply to the National Judicial Council. Let me give you one good example about the Nigerian Judicial Council. There are 21 members in that Judicial Council. It's the highest body that can discipline any judge in Nigeria. The highest. Now, look at the composition. The Chief Justice of Nigeria is the chair. And he appoints 18 members out of the 21. So 18 plus 1 is 19.
Yeah.
Tell me, what can ever be the decision of such a body in which you are the appointer of 18 and you the 19th person out of a 21 member body that will not be to your own advantage? So when Onoye, Justice Onoye, highly respected judge of the Federation, was disciplined by the Code of Conduct Tribunal and his recommendation sent to the President of the Federal Republic, and the President removed him almost immediately. If the matter had gone to the National Judicial Council, you think it would have been guiltless? In a place where he appointed 18 people and he, the 19th, I mean, the only persons that the CJN would not appoint is the representative of the Nigerian Bar Association and one other person representing, a CSO. So it was his council, but it is constitutional. Even when they were biased, this is still constitutional.
Does that not?
The problem about us is that we thought that law should only be, we should only have objectivity flowing from the morality of our case. We are forgetting that law and morality aren't the same, and law is superior to morality when the two clash. If they clash, it is the law that supersedes. And in this instance, in Nigeria, the appointment of the chair of INEC is essentially a political matter within the terms of the president. So, did President Obasanjo not appoint the electoral chairman that presided over his election in 2003? Did he not? After Akpata served, and another person, I think Gobadia, even Gobadia was instigated to almost completely destroy Alliance for Democracy by refusing to do the needful when there were crises between their leaders. Gobadia. So, and I think Senator Mojisola Akinfenwa labored on this throughout his lifetime. The registration certificate of AD is still in his house in Eringesha. Up to today. How about that? So I think that's one part of, with due respect to my father here, Mogaji. There's no way Afenifere can forgive Tinubu, because they blame the destruction or the diminution of the influence of Afenifere, of Afenifere and AD, a vehicle of Afenifere on Tinubu. They blame it on him. They thought that he was not supportive enough. And when they set up a committee to look around the Southwest to audit the governor to see whether they were governing in Paris, pursue with AD's position, Tinubu refused, failed, neglected to accept their advice or even their supervision whatsoever. While others will accept. Tinubu said, no, to your tents. Of course, they won't forgive him for that. They won't forgive him for
Daniel.
All right. Now, Mogaji Adejumo, I know you may want to react to that, but permit me to quickly ask you that despite the hardship that the nation is going through, the APC won in Edo, won in Ondo State.
They did?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
How?
It was announced by
INEC.
Can we begin to look ourselves in the face and try to wash our faces, our eyes with the tears of the truth? Maybe we can see clearly.
Okay, yes,
were those elections?
Mogaji,
were those elections?
I want to say that.
You see, let me just say this, please.
Okay.
Let me just say this, please. Awolowo wrote 14 books. Those 14 books are enough for anyone who wants to rule Nigeria. He does not need any other thing outside those. If he needs anything for education, if he needs anything for electoral processes, if he needs anything on technology, let him just read. The point I'm making is this: when my brother Prof is trying to justify, if Obasanjo did this, then Tinubu has a right to do the same. Honestly, what was going on in my mind is that we're in such a bind we may never be able to get out of. If we are subjected to that kind of reasoning and it's presented as if it is the abiding principle. Oh, the man does not have the moral right to ask. Is it about moral right? Or is it about the fact that what is said represents the truth and we must find answers? Look, Buhari came in 1984, truncated democracy. The number one thing he said was that the 1983 election was bad, was terrible. Yet he presided over elections were 10 times worse. And by who? The same INEC chairman that is there today. The same INEC chairman that conducted Edo election. And somebody wants to tell me, oh, APC won in Edo, and I'm supposed to roll over and die and accept. Based on what? If we have a National Assembly that went ahead to say they are reforming the electoral process, and that is what I keep saying. You want to use the word reform. Do you know what it takes to even begin to say you want to reform? Reform. It must lead to productivity. It must lead somewhere. They said there must be electronic transmission of results. INEC was to be binded by that, to make sure that as soon as an election is done from that unit, it is transmitted immediately. There's supposed to be a receiver. There's supposed to be a linkage. Meanwhile, what is so different? What's so difficult? You want to do a transaction now. How many transactions are done in a minute across all the banks? And it's electronic. And you get results. But you cannot say on an election day, you are doing a certain transaction and it's not reflected. But when you are doing the test run with the National Assembly, people who are hailing you are shouting because you are demonstrating and it's working. And they pass the law. And they now even give you the opportunity to go and draw up a budget based on this same reform, that you are going to use the BB, what is it, BBAS, and every other thing, and they give you money for that purpose. And you come back, even backed by the court, giving a slight excuse that, sorry, the BBAS did not work. Or perhaps to say, well, we are not even binded to use the BBAS. And somebody like me, I'm supposed to sit down here and accept all of these things.
Hold on, I'm going somewhere, but quickly I'd like to tell our listeners and viewers that at 2:30 we would open up the phone lines so that you can join the conversation and make your recommendations and ask questions. Our panelists are definitely say here. Mogaji Adejumo, but don't you think that the blame should be laid at the feet of the people? And I'll give two instances. So one is that those who sold their votes in the Edo and Ondo election, don't you think that they probably don't understand the consequences of that recruitment process? Number one.
Who is
Number two,
those who sold their votes and those who wrote fake results.
No, for the Edo, Mogaji Adejumo, now here we can only speak to the facts on ground.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Facts.
Yes.
People,
we had those who are Tipexing.
We had people who said they collected money, but they voted
I used to
for a particular candidate of a party, and that party won.
Sorry, no party won. It is all a ruse. And if you want to be part of those who believe in such a ruse, good luck to you. I will be an exemption, and I will never take it. You see, I used to be part of those who will look at these professors that are given a task. I say, oh, I'm sorry for them, but I'm no more sorry for them. You know why? They are never at the police station. They are never at the collating station, these professors. But they will now bring them out. Everybody will now be looking at them. They will be reading out results that are, one, fake results. Two, tampered results. Three, results have been dictated from somewhere, and then conclusions made, and they are looking at Nigerians and their integrity being destroyed. And they will continue to go back there. How much are they even being given? That you will lose your dignity. The man who would Tipex it, perhaps does not even have the first degree, but you are supposed to be a professor, and you are condescending to it. You are a witness to all of this evil, and even they are using you as a professor to stamp such an election. That is the level of degradation that Nigeria has fallen into. And yet, people will still look for excuses. Obasanjo did it, so Tinubu too can do it. So Obasanjo free for all. Free for all. Then who is for God? So even if Obasanjo did it, and Obasanjo or Yar'Adua even said, oh, we made a mistake, then of course, all you have to do is to tell yourself, how do we stop making mistakes? I gave an example of what I saw in the UK. They didn't even go after anyone. They went after technology. I gave an idea of what Okonjo-Iweala did. I gave you an example of what Akinwumi Adesina did. So Tinubu cannot do what Okonjo-Iweala did. He cannot do what Adesina did. And his people must now say, Obasanjo did it. So we too can do it.
So I will not feel that the people, if we can, for instance, insist that our lawmakers make laws, for instance, for the Electoral Act of 2007, to ensure that all the electoral reforms that we want are imputed.
There is an Oduifa. I will have to come to that at some point. Oduifa Kokon. Kokon is something that is difficult to handle. But then there's something in Yoruba land we called Owe. We call Owe. I have a farm. I can do it alone. So I call my friends, maybe about 20, and then we go to my farm to till the land and plant. When it's your turn, we do exactly the same. But when Kokon wanted to do his own way, he called the lion, he called the goat, he called the cheetah, he called the gazelle, he called opposites. But whoever is the one who is organizing the way, he knows the rules. At exactly 12, they will start around 6 in the morning before the sun rises. At 12 noon, there is already palm wine and some food. So when it was 12 noon, the great lion was like, oh yeah, where is the palm wine? Where is the food? Kokon said, look very well. There is enough for everybody. But perhaps you have not worked hard enough. The lion said, maybe. I still have a portion there that let me quickly go. Maybe Kokon is coming. But when the hunger got to a level, the lion ate the goat. Then they started eating themselves. These people are Kokon. They are setting us against each other. They have promised us everything during electioneering. I might do this. Nothing has happened. But here we are, even opposing ourselves, based on the fact that these slave drivers who have failed us have even caused division in such a way that we are almost going to start eating ourselves. Isn't there something mentally wrong somewhere with the Nigerian? Where are we ever going to situate the truth? Where are we going to be able to sit down and say enough of all of this? Except we will now find pockets of those who are going to start defending the very people who are killing us. Do you know how many Nigerians are dying daily? And then they come away.
Let's move over to Dr. Paul Alaje. Speaking about reforms, there is a very controversial bill right now at the National Assembly, which is the tax reform bill. Some people call President Bola Ahmed Tinubu a reformer, while some others believe is a tax collector, because since his inauguration as president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, it's been increment in taxes upon taxes. Now, we even have reports that the presidency is lobbying the National Assembly to allow this bill to pass so that it can come into effect by January 1st, 2025. Now, my question is, why do you think this particular bill has generated a whole lot of controversy, even within the FEC? We see northern governors, northern states governors rather, and traditional rulers from the region that are opposing this proposed amendment, and they are particularly opposing the proposed shift in the value-added tax distribution to a derivation-based model. What is wrong with the tax reform bill?
Well, first of all, there are a lot of good things about tax reform bill. A lot of good things. First of all, we have FRS. It's proposed to change it to Nigeria Revenue Service instead of Federal Inland Revenue Service. so that as the nomenclature changes, we know that FRS is not just working for federal government. Then we have also seen a proposal where we can have integration of different tax body instead of.
There are actually four bills in one.
Yeah,
it's not just one
so
bill.
Instead of one saying I'm working for local government A or B, if you are going to drive a truck or an articulated vehicle from Lagos to Sokoto, you perhaps pay over 72 taxes. You know, so how do we reduce those impacts on those who are doing business? So those are very good things that the tax law is proposing. It now speaks to the issue of VAT, value added tax. Now, he suggested that federal government should collect less instead of 15% reduced to 10%. It also, it's
in two places from 55 to 50, and then in the second one from 15 to 10.
Yes. So then it now further mention that where consumption is made is where VAT should be remitted. Now here is it. Lagos State has a population of over 20 million people. Arguably, same with Kano. But when you look at effective population in economics, it is not just interest that matters. It is effective demand. That demand must not just be, you must not be just be willing to buy. You must actually be able to buy. And when you look at Lagos, it's not the 10th largest economy in Africa. It used to be 5th largest. Now that Nigeria has dropped to 5th, the position Lagos was, maybe Lagos will now be maybe 7th or 10th. We don't know. Because what the policy has damaged everything, including Lagos, in terms of policy, in terms of ability and the influence of the state. So here is it. The northern governors and northern hegemony are saying our people perhaps don't have the capacity to consume enough. That is why a cup of rice can determine where somebody votes on election day. Issues are clear. That most of these monies will still go to states that are more efficient. Don't believe me. Go to the Bureau of Statistics. Look at internet generated revenue for states. And the bottom part are mostly those from the core north. So it's a concern to them. Two, they're also looking at having 60% for derivation. And that is the key problem. 60% for derivation. Why that is, so how do you share 60% for derivation when they are not sure that will be to them? Do I think that is bad? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
My challenge here is that when you make adjustment to tax law during economic hardship, it is wrong.
The timing is wrong.
The timing is wrong. If you check the history of Russia, and I've mentioned it twice.
Sorry, my brother. Before you go there, then the incremental VAT.
Yes.
That is 7.5. By 2015 goes to 10.
Yes.
Sorry,
by
2025 goes to 10. 2026 goes to 12.5. Then by the time you get to year 2030, it's done a full circle, and is it 30% now?
I will come back to that. I will come back to that. So when you look at this, if you look at the issue of Russia, 3 policies that you must not combine. If you say you want your economy to grow, if you are increasing taxes, your economy will actually shrink. It will not grow. It's not up to 5 years that we signed the first tax bill under President Buhari. 5 or 6 years. We have seen twice under his administration. Now we are seeing 4 bills go to the National Assembly.
Yeah.
There are some I support, there are some I don't. So I've told you things that I support in the bill, things that are good in the bill. Let me now tell you what I don't particularly support. Any form of tax increase. 10% VAT means people will pay more for consumption. Now, what are we really paying for? Are we paying for production to grow in Nigeria? Hold it there. Go to the National Bureau of Statistics. 80% of all of our finished products are imported. 80%. 80%. From your eyeglass, to your woman hair, to your wristwatch, to your tablet, to your suit, to your chain, to the clipper that barb you, to the tie, to the microphone, to the television. Who are we paying VAT to? Over which production? So, we have not been able to connect tax collected to the improvement of our economy. So that's on one hand. Taxes are compulsory and must be paid. It is not optional. So if you are saying you want to increase tax brackets, that is, people are not paying taxes, by the virtue of Prof's job, he has to pay, it's deducted from source. Yes. But of how much? I'm sorry, sir. I don't know if there is any professor earning up to $500 in Nigeria today.
And what?
In $500 a month. I don't know. I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. Now, you now say that part of his disposable income as a professor in our university, if he now say he wants to buy a commodity of 10,000, but as year goes by, he will not pay 10,000, he will now pay 11,000. What happens to disposable income?
It diminishes.
It diminishes as the consumption. Remember that VAT is on consumption. And to be alive, he has to consume.
Yeah.
While he's giving knowledge, with his knowledge, it's connecting markets and farms together. It's connecting production center, even though it's not in existence, together. So he's making his contribution. I was in Ife. Professor taught me. Different professors, doctors. I was in OAU. But are we able to connect? So when it now comes to spending, VAT jumped from 5% to 7.5. Where is the difference in our economy?
So it's to the economy.
What is the difference? States collect most of the money. What is the difference in states? Local government collect after. What is the difference in local government? When the government collect 15%, what is the difference? What is the impact? So it's important. Another good thing in this some of these laws I've said is that people can ask questions. But who will appoint those that will determine the results? It's another conversation entirely, as Prof mentioned in his analysis. So for me, continuous increase in taxes is dangerous even now because of the economy that we run. Don't be deceived. You have seen 3.46 GDP growth rate. It is no growth. You know why? You need to find the substance of that economy. I'll give you an instance. In 2022, Nigeria's GDP was nearly $500 billion. United Arab Emirates GDP was 480 or 470 billion dollars, which means Nigeria GDP was actually higher than that because of our population. Today, our GDP is not up to half of 10 million people.
Yes.
And guess what? The exchange rate of UAE, Google it if you like, and you can call in when you check, has been between 3.65 or 3.69 dirhams. Not 5 years ago, not 10 years ago, almost in perpetual. The same with Bahrain. The same with Saudi Arabia. What is our offense? So it is not true that currency must be floated. And I also mentioned to you, you can confirm, some of these countries give subsidy on PMS from time to time.
All the time.
To their people. America, the father of modern market capitalism, gives subsidy up to 22 trillion naira. To who? To their cotton farmers and other farmers in America. Economy that is weak, that people are poor, we say we take subsidy, one of the key parts of the economy, off them. We want to give them as cash.
Even on insulin, American government pays subsidy for those who have the diabetes and they have to pay for insulin.
So here is it.
Okay.
On the tax bill, there are some that are good and there are some that are not too good. People should be prepared, they will pay more. Whether the money is collected, we go into doing what they want it to do, well, it's not for Taiwo Daily to decide. It's not for me to decide. It is people who people have collected 5,000 naira from. Like I saw with my eyes on TVC. A woman saying that she has collected money and she has voted. Such money will get to the pockets, will get to the control of such politicians, whosoever might have paid. And then we now decide whether they will give you road or not, whether they want to keep money for the next election or not. So here are the question. It may now discourage people from consuming. One, it may discourage even production. Yeah. Two, because that's not the only tax that will go up. they are all form of taxes that will go up. One good thing about that tax is that withholding tax has also been reviewed. Because you take a portion of my money, hoping that when I come for my tax clearance, I will now the money can be released, which is good. But when it comes to increasing any form of taxes during economic crisis, because we are in one, is never recommended by economists, and I will be the last person to recommend it.
Okay, Professor Ogunyemi, I know you want to react to that, but permit me to add this to it. Right. You take your reaction and add it to hear that. The cross of this colloquium has been the economic reforms of President Bola Tinubu. And Prof, Nigerians are going through a lot at the moment. MBS says that 65.8% of households can't afford a healthy meal. When will this pain subside?
It is not my turn to answer that question. It is for the handlers of the economy. But I must quickly just like Dr. Alaji has said, that yes, there are some painful parts of this bill, not less than 3 of them. But take note that those who earn 70,000 naira or less will pay nothing. And who are those people in this bracket? More than 100 million Nigerians. I think we should get it in perspective. So it is those that are already rich that will pay more. That's it. Yes, consumption can limit the productivity with respect to production responding to large stocks not being disposed by the reason of purchases. But the truth of the matter is that this tax is not essentially about increasing. It is about spreading the base so that the previously uncaptured part of Nigeria's tax market is brought within the net. That's important to take note. It's also important to take note that the essential problems that have been raised with respect to these bills on taxation is not essentially on the economics of it. It's just politics. The politics of it. I mean, what is wrong in compensating more an area that has provided the atmospherics, the business environment that encourages consumption, more than the area that discourages it? What's wrong with that? That's equity. That's equitable. If you discourage, for example, the production or the consumption of pork, pig meat, from your own part of the country, how dare you begin to ask me that they should not transfer to me, me that has encouraged the production and the consumption of pork more than you? Or breweries, beer, and spirits. How about that? You get your Hizbah to prevent it in the northern part. 19 of them, more than half of Nigeria. The north accounts for almost 70% of Nigeria's land area. And clearly more than 50% of Nigeria's population. In that area, you discourage breweries, you discourage distilleries, you discourage the production of these products. And then, when it is the time to share, you say, where is my own? Who does that? And a tax bill is to adjust the business environment such that those who encourage such businesses get more transfer, and then you protest. It's just politics. The political, I told you, there's no way we can fix the Nigerian economy without first of all fixing Nigeria's political economy. We must fix, because politics is economics by some other sense. Okay. Politics is just like the reverse side of economics. All right. So the transfer of resources from the Federation Account Allocation Committee. See, this is my recommendation. Okay. In respect of this tax, can we please annul, repeal, remove the value-added tax, and let every state charge consumption based upon it? After all, when the Nigerian system, the federal system, was to be agreed upon by Nigeria's founding fathers, like Council Conference 1953, sales tax, consumption taxes were to be given to the regions. To regions, yeah, absolutely. So it was Babacha and the military diktat that brought this to the center, and then make that tax to be shared and shareable amongst Nigerian federating units. Who does that? If I'm encouraging consumption of certain products in my area, shouldn't I have 100% access to it? I give you one very ludicrous instance. If Lagos State awards contracts, Plateau State awards contracts, River State awards contracts, do you know that 7.5% value-added tax on those contracts are to go to the Federal Land Revenue Service and to be shared by states that are not awarding contracts? So the states that are not encouraging production and creation of things that will add value will share. And what are the conditions for sharing? Number one, population. Number two, they call it balanced development. And then another one is fiscal comparability.
such that no part of Nigeria is seen to be so developed that the others seem to be almost like a third world or fourth world. Equity. Now you are being equitable inequitably, so that areas in which you are not strong, you want to collect from it, but areas in which you are strong, the government has declared it not to be vatable. For example, do you know that yam is not vatable and it's essentially produced in the north? 100% goes to them. Do you know that tomato is not vatable? Do you know that almost 80% of the products in the north are not vatable? From where no tax will accrue to the Federal Revenue Service. Now, in the areas where it will accrue, you do not want derivation to apply. Who does that? See, we need to be truthful to ourselves in this country. This country, except we restructure the policies of this country such that the productive energies of a region or its people can be liberated for its own purposes, and that region donates a tax or a proportion of its income to the center for the sake of the Nigerian nation, we aren't going to go anywhere. I tell you.
And I agree with Prof on that. The only issue I have, there are 4 areas or 4 bills in that with one area that gives me a little bit of concern. It's about the fact that there's so much emphasis on tax on the companies and their concerns that are deemed to be the big cash cows that are making so much money, the rich as it were. And I'm looking at, well, Guinness, they posted what? They posted billions in losses. MTN posted billions in losses. International Breweries posted billions in losses. Multi-Choice posted billions in losses. So where are we going to get all this huge tax from? And that is why I continue to say that this idea of taxing liability is not going to help. If there's going to be a blanket opportunity for each and every region to be able to grow on its own and maintain whatever it consumes, and in terms of taxes, keep their taxation in, just like he explained, I am all for it.
All right, Magaji. I'm going to take Dr. Alaja's reaction. It seems you have a reaction. You can do it in less than 2 minutes. I would appreciate it.
No, it will be less than 2 minutes. I just want to say that it is not 19 states that say they cannot eat pork, they cannot drink. Benue State, for instance, they are allowed. In Kogi State, they are allowed. But there are some states that wants to share from the national covers. And from what you want to share from national covers, the truth is that you are not contributing to the same. So to that extent, it will constitute injustice and it will be unequitable that you are demanding to earn from where you have not sown. So it's going to be very difficult. So, but here is the problem. Which region has the number to vote? Which region?
The North.
The North. So with all the benefits and very few adjustments, to my mind, I think we should consider in the bill, maybe when it gets to National Assembly and it goes for public hearing, the few adjustments that should be made, then I have my worries. Because some parts of the country that has more in the National Assembly, they have more in the Senate, even though Senate is supposed to be 3-3. But when you look at the number of states that came from certain areas, you already know that it's already decided. It's already decided. Because if you say Northwest versus Southeast, then you already know the answer at the end of the day, because it will be Southwest, Northeast, and it will be North Central versus South. So you already know. But these regions are not contributing as such. Where are the headquarters of most of the financial institutions in Nigeria? Oil and gas, where are they? What part of the country? So to my mind, if we want this policy to work, the president will need to do more of diplomacy. And so that you don't confront the people. When something was going to be removed before President Tinubu came to office, everybody was going to applaud it. Today, I'm not sure if you do opinion poll on X, if most people on X or any other platform will applaud it, because they were not listening to voice of reason. For me, it's important for us to make some of those adjustments.
All right.
But in making them, we have to be careful of what the rates are, and also allow states that are supporting business environment to grow. Those that are not, they will need to find a way out.
All right. We have to go for this break, but our esteemed audience, you should know that you can make your contributions or ask questions on the show. The numbers to call 0806 867 6165, or you can dial 0805 817 4262. Would like to hear from you, but that will be right after this break. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Badamasi Adegoke Adelabu was a prominent figure in Ibadan politics and Western region before Nigeria's independence. He was a key founder of the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, a political party that held lofty the torch of liberty for the two West African countries. He carved a niche for himself as a wordsmith and a creative speaker. The nickname Kwenkele was a natively corrupted version of peculiar mess, his bombastic English language style often used to score proceedings at the parliament. The author of Africa in Ebullition, a handbook of freedom for Nigerian nationalists, was Nigeria's Federal Minister of Natural Resources and Social Services between 1955 and 1956. He died in an auto crash on the 25th March 1958 at the age of 42. Western Spring Television identifies Adegoke Adelabu as a watershed character in history. Born Jeremiah Oyeni Obafemi on March 6, 1909, Obafemi Awolowo was a prime architect of Nigeria's independence and most consummate advocate of free education and social welfare in Africa's most populous nation. Erudite politician, thinker and philosopher, Awo was fondly addressed by associates and political colleagues, brought his unique attributes to bear on governance in the defunct Western region. He administered as leader of government business and the premier between 1955 and 1958. Obafemi Awolowo's premiership witnessed pioneering in multi-sectoral policy initiatives and execution. The Western region under his administration paraded several enviable records. First television station in Africa, first real estate in Nigeria, first high-rise building in Nigeria, first modern sports stadium in Nigeria, first agricultural settlement in Nigeria, first modern civil service secretariat in Nigeria, and first industrial estate in Nigeria. His face is on 100 naira denomination as a mark of honor for his distinguished services to his country. Western Spring Television identifies Obafemi Awolowo as a major character in history.
Thank you for staying with us so far. Welcome back. It's still the on-air colloquium on the anniversary, 9 years anniversary of Rave 91.7 FM and 2 years of Western Spring Television broadcasting to the whole world. And we've been speaking with our panelists, Mogaji Adegboyega Dejumo, Dr. Paul Alaje, and Professor Tunji Ogunyemi. Thank you for staying with us. We'll open up the phone lines right about now, 0806 867 6165 or 0805 817 4262 are the studio lines to call. Please, when you call, do move away from your radio set or your TV so that we can get to hear you clearly. And we are live on Facebook at Rave 91.7 FM and also on Western Spring Television. Also, we're being live on our YouTube channel, Western Spring TV. Would like you to drop your comments there. We'll definitely read it from here. Want to know what you feel, what you think about the discussion so far. Remember that the topic is between reforms, political courage, and a social impact, with a laser focus on the reforms embarked upon by the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. All right, we have the first caller now. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Your name and location, please.
My first point in particular is I just want to confirm, I want to confirm whether we ever have a credible election in this country. How did that be?
Okay. I think what he said was he wanted to know if we've ever had a credible election.
If we've ever had,
in
or
this
if
country.
we will ever have.
You think he directed it to Prof?
Yeah. Oh, really?
If we ever, the question
If
was
we've-
if we
If
have
we've ever had.
I think, of course we have.
We'll take that, your reaction to that question, but we have another caller on the line. Hello, good afternoon to you. Okay, we understand that that call dropped. Remember that you can call 082-6867-76165. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Your name and location, please.
My name is Oluwatosin from outside.
All right, Osen, you have the floor.
Yeah, congratulations to Rave FM.
Thank
and
you.
I greet all your analysts in the studios.
Thank you.
Yeah, please, I'd like to confirm. I just read some couple of minutes that the Port Harcourt refinery has commenced operation. So I'd like to ask Professor, is it enough to bring the kind of competition that we desire that will affect, the price of the PMS? Is it enough, just a single refinery? It truly is working now. And also, do we need $1 trillion to probably bring back agriculture, as something like a backbone to resurrect our dead economy? That is my question. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like, it directed the question to Prof.
Yes, exactly. And I will answer him. The first is that, have we ever had credible elections in this country? Of course we have had. In the year 1993, Nigeria conducted an indisputable election that was adjudged to be the freest, the fairest in our history.
And that's 1993, because I
That
know
was
some
the
people
one that
might be
brought
wondering.
MK Abuola.
Yeah.
He was elected president. Of course, the archives have shown, and the federal government has acknowledged that by saying he won the election. So it's no longer that we were putting him to him, it happened. And then, of course, in 2011, the election that brought in President Goodluck Jonathan, was it disputed? Even if it was disputed, it would have been disputed to no avail because it was a credible election. He was elected president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, full stop. These elections were credible. Now, others have been disputed. You have elections that brought in President Yar'Adua. In this dispensation, democratic system, the worst. The worst. He himself acknowledged it. It's in the archives. So, it is not as if we cannot do good elections. The problem is that when we become extremely divided in the country, between North and South, between Muslim and Christian, between the house and the house not, and we seem not to have a unifying force saying, enough, this is the direction. That is when elections become extremely disputed. Okay. But you don't dispute facts. If INEC says this is what has happened and this is the result, that's the result. If you say you dispute and you go against it, go to court. When you get to the court and the court says no, this is the position, it should end there. It should end. Reason is that is the final word. Okay. Especially if that word is pronounced by the Supreme Court of the Federal Republic.
All right, we'll go to the next question. I don't know if we have a call. We should pick that call. If not, we'll go to the next question raised by Tosin, asking
Before we go to the next question, even the judiciary have had to query themselves. 2 judges have been dismissed. A few judges are still under interrogation. Even the Supreme Court had to even reverse itself. Why are we pronouncing finality on a body that is the least credible, that has been accused of being the most corrupt agency? Why would we want to simply say, take it, that a wrong has been done and it should end there? When would we ever be able to say to this system that includes a very corrupt judiciary that it is enough? If the point that some people are trying to push is that we should just take anything that comes to us without interrogation.
All right,
I don't think that is the right thing to do.
Okay.
For every election that has gone through all manners of wrongdoing, we should interrogate it, and we should not even be cowed into accepting an election that is flawed.
All right.
It is not about somebody declaring that, oh, Yar'Adua's election was most flawed. If we look at the last election in Ondo, or we look at the last election in Edo, and we know that it is flawed, we should call it that. We shouldn't say a finality to it and say INEC has picked. Which INEC? The INEC that everybody sees, that everybody... See, social media is replete with what goes on in INEC offices.
All right, Magaji, we have to pick calls now. Hello, good afternoon. Your name and location. Please, you need to turn down the volume on your radio set so we can have this.
I've done that perfectly. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Dapo Yegba. I'm calling from Oshogo.
Thank you.
Please, I have this question for the panelists. Please, who should run our refinery for efficiency and effectiveness? Is it the private sector or the government? Who should run our refineries? Is it the private sectors or the government?
I'll throw that question to Dr. Paul Alaja, and also, add the question by Tosin, asking if the Port Harcourt refinery is enough for us as a country, and also if we need $1 trillion to bring back the economy, agriculture in the economy. Thank you.
Okay, first of all, you need to know the meaning of $1 trillion. $1 trillion multiplied by 1,650, it will become unimaginable.
Yeah.
You don't need 1,000 teeth to crack a bone. If you're 40 or 34, I beg your pardon, are strong enough, it will break the bone. So you don't need $1 trillion. That will not be correct. 2, Port Harcourt refineries we need to know what is the capacity of the refinery. It is not the name of refinery. It's what we know is that it's not as large as Dangote refinery. The entire 4 refineries, even though Kaduna, I've been there myself, and it appears to be moribund. If you put them together, they are still not up to Dangote refinery.
445,000 barrels.
So if you say that Port Harcourt refinery is back, which of course we should say is good, after years of promises, we expect it to be back in 2014, 2016, 2018, 2019, 4 different promises. And the minister that promised us that, don't worry, subsidy is gone in 2020, and refinery will come to mainstream in 2020, eventually left around 2021, 2022 to go and run for election in Bayelsa, but that refinery never. So now that we hear the refinery is up, how many barrels of diesel are we producing a day? How many barrels of petrol, PMS, are we of Jet A1? How many? So those are the things we see.
Of DPK, of
yes, so we now know from our consumption, this is what we go down.
Yeah.
Now, this is part of supply. Our source of supply, number 1, is importation. And the most important thing to this economy that we are spoken less of is exchange rate, because we are importing. So if we continue to float, I can tell you that the future will not be better. If we continue to float, we continue this exchange rate, wherever Naira find itself, let Naira find its level. All my friends at the economy that said that, they've all came one way or the other to say we are sorry. But I said, you not tell me on a phone call. You have to go to the public. You go on TV, and those that you convince are misled to change their policy because it's wrong. So do I think Port Harcourt refinery will be sufficient for us as a nation? The answer is no. Thirdly, you spoke about the question was about whether private sector should run a refinery or not.
Yeah.
I was invited by a committee of the Senate, particularly on oil and gas. At a time, this was many years back, I was much younger, and I was advised to look at the expenditure on turning around our refineries. And my advice then, which I still stand on, is instead of us saying that as a nation we must own this refinery, it is wrong. Let's maintain some shares in the refinery. We will not sell it outrightly. Maintain some shares, allow private sector to put their money in it. Whether the private sector are from Nigeria or are not from Nigeria. And this model, I did not see it in a dream. I saw what Saudi Aramco did. So part of the shares, suddenly the company was one of the reasons why Saudi's wealth became so high around the world. Because that's what they have. So instead of us saying that civil servants should run it, I don't think they have the competence.
I don't think so.
To run it. But we have private sector, but owned by government. I don't know if you get my point. So government owns significant shares. Allow private sector to run it. You see the way some of the banks are how we are running them. Telecom companies, how we are running them. But if you leave the control to the hand of private sector, because oil is an essential commodity. Everybody have told me when subsidy is gone, the price will come down. I said no, the price will not come down. Because at 5,000 naira per litre, you still need to use it. And if you don't have sufficient supply, the price will keep going up. What does that mean? you must allow government to have some level of control because of intervention for the people. Because private sector will neglect the people, they will pursue profits. But for the sake of welfare of the people, government must have influence to say you cannot. But unfortunately, even now, government is even the one backing flotation. And government is wondering that we expect that the price should start coming down now. When you don't understand the meaning of policy you made. So to my mind, private sector should run it. Government should own significant share. Why? Because even if private sector has gone beyond what should give profits, then the remaining share could be owned by private sector. So not 100% to government, but the running, daily running, there should be by.
Because of the reason of Dr.
We have another call.
The statistics, okay.
Would like to pick that call. Okay, go ahead, please, bro.
Okay. It's about how much does Port Harcourt Refinery has capacity to produce and actually produces. Now, there are two refineries in Port Harcourt. The older one, 1965, that is its age, was commissioned 1965. Capacity 50,000. And the newer one, 1989, that was when it was commissioned, 150,000. Combined capacity 200,000. However, it is the old one, the older one, not the new one. Not the new one.
That's the 50,000.
50,000.
We have another call. Good afternoon. All right, the phone lines are still open. 0806 867 6165 or 0805 817 4262. Remember, you can drop a comment on our Facebook page at Rave 91.7 FM and on Western Spring Television. Also on our YouTube page at Western Spring TV. Daniel.
Okay. Right now, quickly, before we pick some other calls. Okay, we have a caller. Hello, good afternoon.
Thank you very much. Happy anniversary to you over there in Rave.
Thank you.
We are very happy for your anniversary there. We appreciate all the analysts. One word that we like to is very important. We like it so much. Now this
I'd like to know your name and location, please.
Okay, this is Prince I remember from Elawo.
All right.
Okay, on this tax reform, I appreciate what the analyst said over there in the studio. And what I want to say is that it is better for us to go to what happens in the First Republic, where every region retain what they have and send something to the center. And that will help us in the country to move forward in terms of production and productivity. So thank you.
All right, thank you for that.
Can I say something about ownership of the refineries?
Yes,
by all means.
Great. I will not even submit to the government having any role to play in any of these refineries.
It should be completely privatized.
I'll tell you why. And I want to throw a question to Prof and to my brother Doctor here. Is a Kaduna refinery, was it ever set up made to refine PMS?
Yes, sir. It was set up in 1979.
To refine PMS.
PMS and
has it ever refined PMS in that kind of quantity that could be said that has served Nigeria?
There has never been a time that it produced up to capacity. There has never been
now,
a time.
that is it. Kaduna refinery was never built to capacity.
Yes.
It was mostly producing black oil.
Yes, I agree.
It was only producing LPFO. And that's all. And it was serving the textile industries and the rest of them. So when Obasanjo sold the two refineries to Aliko Dangote and to Otedola, he did Nigeria a whole world of good. Now when Yar'Adua came and reversed it, he was truthful enough to say the reason why I did was because there was so much pressure from the north.
Correct.
And that the north was saying that, look, we have too many of our people and stake in these refineries. We have, well, quite a number of those who are working there. Their livelihood will be terminated because once these private people come, they are going to sack them.
Yes.
And that the north is saying, look, our primary business is trucking, is haulage. And that if these two companies refineries are taken away from federal government and they go into, then our people may not be so assured of having their trucks to look all manners of sentimental reasons, mainly from the north, was what made Yar'Adua to cancel that. Just imagine, Obasanjo left in 2007.
Yes.
And that was part of the last things that he did Now, if Otedola and Dangote had bought it, then with the way the private sector works, especially those two men, they would have made these refineries to work. We would have had to wait for that too long to start having those things to be produced. There was a day before the election I asked you a question. I said, what do the Yoruba want? Is it presidency or a restructured Nigeria? I'm asking that same question again. And Prof has been talking about restructuring, and I'm marveling. The idea is if we want to restructure Nigeria, then we must first restructure our minds. How can we say that in Nigeria that we know, where 200 billion is being wasted on those refineries, is in Nigeria that we should, in any form, want to retain anything in those refineries? They are moribund. They have been given to many companies that didn't even know the original design to work on, and they have messed up the whole thing. In fact, it is what the Yoruba will call apa alapa. SLS. Whoever is coming there is going to face a lot of trouble. We've been spending so much money. The person who mentioned 1 trillion is actually referring to what they said have been spent on those refineries from a number of years, totaling about $1 trillion. It may be less, but the fact is, so much money has been spent on these refineries and nothing has worked.
Yes.
So why would we still want to say that we want to retain anything? We just have to abandon this idea of spending so much money. And in terms of cutting wastages, the number one area we should look at are those refineries that people will still have to apply. Somehow they will employ them. They will work there. They will retire there. They will collect their pension there. Because some of them are sent abroad to go and study.
Yeah, we have to run.
And still come back on a refinery that is not working.
Thank you so much. In 30 seconds, I would like to ask you all that what is your message for Rave 91.7 FM at 9 and WSTV at 2?
Let Rave continue to inspire.
Thank you.
That's my word.
Dr. Olaje.
For me, it's you're already doing your best, but you need to beat yourself. Look at the record you set. In the last 9 years, how did you become the most noticeable radio station? And now, fast, a TV station that is making so much influence. What can you do to beat all the record you've set in 9 years? Perhaps when you're doing your 10th anniversary and when you're doing your 3rd anniversary. At that time, it will not just be service to yourself or your organization, but humanity and lifting, making humanity become better. I wish you once again happy celebration and happy anniversary.
What can I say? The very first time I was called to an interview, to tell you the truth, I had no idea of even the existence. But I came and I met a certain level of knowledge, of professionalism.
Professionalism, yes.
Professionalism, because I've gone through many interviews, I've been to many radio stations, television stations, all. But then I met a certain appeal that tickled me, and even the fact that it is in Osogbo, in that area of the southwest, which many may not know. People may call it the epicenter, but the very center,
the cultural center,
not just cultural, I'm talking about the physical center of Yoruba land, is actually situated between Osogbo and Elisha.
That's it.
I'm telling you the truth today. If you say you want to look at the whole Yoruba land, as it were, and you want to peg and say where is the center? It's right here, between here and Elisha. And something good is sitting pretty. And my mind is just telling me, for some of us who have been agitating for a regional kind of arrangement, this will be the very first choice of our coming to come and celebrate something so good. Because here, and I'm here physically today, I've been all of, well, whatever you want to do, Zoom or telephone, but I'm here. And ever since I've been here yesterday, I cannot understand why and how Reverend Kanobi God will live to be 100 years.
All right. Thank you so much for.
So I can only say you guys have done so well. I wish you all the very best.
You.
And just keep it up.
Thank you.
And keep the flag flying, and we'll always be there to support you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for your words of wisdom, for your words of inspiration this afternoon. We appreciate you all. I mean, we calling you and accepting our invitation to be here is a whole lot for us, and we appreciate each and every one of you for what you do for us, for what you do for the nation. Thank you so much. And that's it. This afternoon, the on-air colloquium comes to a close. We have these conversations because we want a better nation for ourselves. We might travel far and wide, go to Europe, go to America, but Nigeria will always be ours. And we definitely must have these conversations and these talks so that we can have a better and productive nation. My name is Evelyn Ohiola, thanking you, our esteemed audience, for being with us from 12 noon till to this very time.
Many thanks once again. My name is Daniel Odeyemi. Have a blessed day.